If you think your cat licks you just because they love you, you may have been misunderstanding this behavior all along. What surprises most cat owners is that not every lick means the same thing. Sometimes it's a sign of trust. Sometimes it's an instinct shaped by millions of years of evolution. And sometimes your cat is simply gathering information about you in the only way they know how. In this video, we'll use what we know about cat communication and cat psychology to decode this behavior, so you can understand what your cat is really trying to tell you every time they lick you. Why do cats lick? The evolution behind a cat's tongue. If your cat licks you to show affection, then why do they spend hours every day licking themselves? Long before cats used licking to communicate, they relied on it to survive. A cat's tongue is covered with hundreds of tiny, backward-facing spines made of keratin called papillae. These tiny structures act like a built-in comb, removing loose fur, dirt, and debris while spreading natural oils that keep the coat healthy. But grooming isn't just about staying clean. In the wild, a healthy coat helps a cat stay warm, blend into its surroundings, and improve its chances of survival. A dirty or matted coat can reduce insulation, make hunting less effective, and even make a cat easier for predators or prey to detect. In other words, grooming isn't an optional habit. It's part of a cat's survival strategy. That's why licking has remained one of the most deeply ingrained instincts in cats, long before they ever shared their lives with humans. So when your cat licks you, they're not simply doing something cute. From your cat's perspective, they're using one of the oldest and most important behaviors their brain has been wired to perform. So what makes a behavior that was designed for self-care become something they share with you? Why your cat licks you, a sign of trust. Here's what's fascinating. Cats don't share this behavior with just anyone. That's because licking people is thought to come from a social behavior called allo-grooming. Allo-grooming is when one cat grooms another. Studies of cat behavior have found that this usually happens between cats that have a close, trusting relationship. Besides cleaning areas that are hard to reach, like the head and neck, allo-grooming helps strengthen social bonds within a group. It's an important part of how cats build and maintain positive relationships with one another. What's especially interesting is that cats don't groom every cat they meet. Within a social group, they usually reserve this behavior for individuals they feel safe with and have formed a bond with. That's why researchers consider allo-grooming to be one of the signs of a positive social relationship between cats. So when your cat licks you in the same way, there's a good chance they've come to see you as someone familiar, safe, and part of their social circle. It also explains why many cats will only lick one or two people in the household instead of everyone they meet. But if licking is mainly about strengthening social bonds, why do so many cats also seem determined to leave their scent on you? Why your cat mixes their scent with yours. If your cat already trusts you, then why do they keep licking you or rubbing their head against you? Because they're not just showing affection, they're communicating through the language of scent. Humans recognize each other mainly by faces and voices, but for cats, scent is one of the most important sources of information. It helps them identify what's familiar, what's safe, and who belongs to their social group. That's why cats have scent glands on their cheeks, chin, and forehead. Every time they rub their head against you, a piece of furniture, or another cat, they leave behind chemical signals called pheromones. Licking may play a role in that process as well. While scientists are still studying the exact role saliva plays in scent communication, many cat behavior experts believe that licking helps reinforce familiarity between individuals that already share a close bond. For a cat, a familiar scent isn't just a smell, it's information. It helps them recognize places, people, and experiences that already feel safe. That's one reason cats often rub against furniture, doorways, and even the people they live with. These familiar scents help the world feel safe. In other words, when your cat licks you, they aren't just saying, "I trust you." They're also making you part of their familiar world, a world where scent represents safety, comfort, and belonging. What's even more interesting is that this behavior doesn't begin in adulthood. It starts during the very first days of a kitten's life. Why every kitten learns to lick first. Long before a kitten learns to walk or groom itself, it's already being licked dozens of times a day. And it all starts with their mother. Right after birth, kittens are almost completely dependent on their mother to survive. They can't regulate their body temperature, clean themselves, or even eliminate waste on their own. That's why a mother cat constantly licks her kittens. She cleans their bodies, stimulates their breathing immediately after birth, and helps them urinate and defecate during the first few weeks of life. For a newborn kitten, being licked isn't just comforting, it's essential for survival. Cat behavior researchers believe that because licking is closely associated with care and safety during this critical stage of life, many cats continue using the behavior as adults to strengthen relationships with individuals they trust. That doesn't mean your cat sees you as a kitten. Instead, they're using a social behavior that's been part of their lives since the very beginning and directing it towards someone they consider familiar and safe. But if licking is usually a sign of trust, why do so many cats suddenly bite right afterward? Why your cat licks you, then bites you. This is probably the behavior that confuses cat owners the most. One moment your cat is licking you, and the next, they bite. Surprisingly, in many cases, it's still part of the same message. Here's what most cat owners get wrong. They assume the bite cancels out the licking, but in many cases, both behaviors are actually part of the same conversation. When two bonded cats groom each other, they don't just lick. They often mix in gentle little nibbles before going right back to grooming. This is a normal part of feline social behavior and usually isn't meant to hurt or start a fight. So, if your cat licks you and then gives you a soft bite, they may simply be interacting with you the same way they would with another cat they trust. It doesn't necessarily mean their mood suddenly changed or that they've become aggressive. But there's another possibility. If you've been petting your cat for too long, especially around sensitive areas like the lower back or belly, their nervous system can become overstimulated. Behavior experts call this petting-induced overstimulation. At that point, a gentle bite isn't a sign of anger. It's simply your cat's way of saying the interaction has gone on long enough. The good news is that cats usually give you a warning first. Their tail may start twitching, their ears may turn sideways, the skin along their back may ripple, or their body may suddenly become tense. If you notice these signals and stop petting at the right time, you can often avoid the bite altogether. But not every lick is about affection or setting boundaries. Sometimes your cat licks you for a much simpler reason. You just smell interesting. Why your cat licks your hands, face, or skin. Not every lick is a sign of affection. Sometimes your cat licks you for one simple reason. You smell interesting. A cat's world is built around scent. While humans rely heavily on vision, cats gather much of their information through their sense of smell. That means every time you come home, cook a meal, work out, or even try a new lotion, you bring home scents your cat has never encountered before. That's why many cats like to lick their owner's hands, face, or arms. These areas often carry traces of sweat, natural skin salts, or food smells that are especially interesting for a curious cat to investigate. Cats even have a specialized sensory organ called the Jacobson's organ. It helps them analyze certain scent molecules in ways humans can't. While licking doesn't activate this organ by itself, it can help move scent molecules into the mouth, giving cats another way to investigate unfamiliar smells. That's why the same cat that almost never licks you might suddenly start doing it after you've cooked fish, handled another animal, or come home from a place filled with unfamiliar scents. They're not necessarily becoming more affectionate overnight. They're simply responding to new information. But if your cat suddenly starts licking far more than usual, or the behavior changes dramatically, it may no longer be about communication at all. When cat licking is no longer normal. There comes a point when your cat's licking may no longer be a message, but a sign that something isn't right. So far, we've talked about the normal reasons cats lick. But like many feline behaviors, what matters most isn't a single action, it's a change in the pattern. If your cat suddenly starts licking you much more than they used to, or begins doing it constantly for no obvious reason, it's worth paying closer attention. In some cases, excessive licking can be associated with ongoing stress, pain, skin irritation, or other underlying medical conditions. The same is true if your cat starts grooming themselves so much that they're losing fur or damaging their skin. A behavior that's normally healthy and natural may have crossed the line into something abnormal. Of course, you can't diagnose a medical problem based on licking alone. Many different conditions can lead to changes in grooming behavior, and the licking itself is only one piece of the puzzle. But if the change continues or is accompanied by other unusual signs, such as a loss of appetite, hiding more than usual, changes in personality, or a sudden drop in activity, the safest choice is to have your cat examined by a veterinarian. And finally, here's something that will probably reassure a lot of cat owners. What if your cat has never licked you at all? Why some cats never lick their owners. If your cat has never licked you, don't assume they don't love or trust you. Just like people, every cat has its own personality and its own way of showing affection. Some cats lick their owners regularly, while others almost never do. That doesn't make your relationship any less meaningful. Some cats show trust by giving you a slow blink. Others greet you by rubbing their head against your legs every time you walk by. Some choose to sleep beside you, follow you from room to room, or simply sit nearby without needing any physical contact. All of these behaviors are part of cat communication. No single behavior can tell the whole story of your relationship with your cat. To truly understand what they're trying to say, you have to look at the bigger picture and consider the context surrounding their behavior. One behavior may have several meanings, and the same message can be expressed in completely different ways depending on the individual cat. So the next time your cat licks you, don't think of it as just a cat kiss. It could be a sign of trust, an instinct shaped by millions of years of evolution, a way of reinforcing familiar scents, or simply their way of learning more about the world around them. And once you understand that, you're no longer just watching your cat's behavior. You're beginning to understand what it actually means from your cat's point of view. A cat's lick never has just one meaning. It can be a sign of trust, a survival instinct shaped by evolution, a way of sharing scent, or simply how your cat explores the world. If you want to truly understand your cat, don't focus on a single behavior. Look at the bigger picture. Now, we'd love to hear about your cat. When does your cat usually lick you? And have they ever licked you, then gently bitten you right afterward? Tell us your cat's story in the comments below. If you enjoy science-based videos that help you understand your cat, be sure to subscribe to Cat Decoded. Thanks for watching.